Tony Veland. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
Dude, I'm glorious. I've got to ask because, all right, I played under Mike Shanahan in DC. All right, and he shared some stories about John Elway from time to time, not a ton. What was it like playing with a guy like John Elway, though? I got to ask.
It was actually really cool. I came in, young, and he was an old head, so we really didn't talk all heck of a lot. But honestly, he wasn't one of these guys with like a huge ego. Like he treated everybody cool, got along well with everybody. But I will tell you, before I went to the league, I used to wonder how in the heck all these coaches, all these players used to get 500 yards passing. I just didn't understand that until I started practicing with Elway, because that cat knew the defense so well, and his just command of the game and the huddle and all that stuff. It just made you understand how he could be so wildly successful. So it was an awesome time playing with him.
So who were some of the, I believe Terrell Davis was there, Steve Atwater was there. They actually came out to DC a couple times, and they were like helping coach, for a couple of days here and there, the safeties, the running backs. Who were some of the other Broncos that you played with, and what was it like playing with some of those guys too?
Oh man, we had Shannon Sharpe. Man, it was a lot of Davis, McCaffrey, Rod Smith. Man, honestly, it was an amazing place for me to go, because I went there and you had this team that was hungry to win. You had a lot of stars who, honestly, we probably had about 5 Hall of Famers on there, but you wouldn't think that going to the locker room, because they were just about business. They were about having fun. They were about winning games. And they were about welcoming people. So, I went into a place where you got Shanahan, who's kind of the little Napoleon, he's a little general, he's running everything. But you got these guys who you might be coming in trying to take their spot, but at the same time, they're welcoming. They're welcoming the competition. They're helping you. And I couldn't have gone into a better place to play, man. To go there and learn from those cats and win a championship was the best experience that I had, playing NFL football.
All right, last question on this topic, then we'll move to Husker football. All right, Shannon Sharpe, did you ever see him being a national sports pundit, doing what he does now? And is the Shannon you see on TV, is that the same guy you knew from your playing days?
I will say I did not see him going into what he's doing now, but he is 100% who you saw in the locker room. Like who you see right now, that's him, 100%. I mean, he always had stories, was always joking, always kept things on upbeat and then funny until you got to the field. When you got to the field, then it was all about business, right? He might talk stuff, but he's going to back it up and put in the work. So kudos to the success that he's had, but it doesn't surprise me because he has that personality.
All right. And we do have confirmation that one of our most recent offensive line commits will not be doing a 2-year Mormon mission. Sal Savala, I hope I pronounced that right, said, yep, he announced yesterday he's not doing a 2-year mission now. All right. So, Tony, talk to me about the upcoming season for the Huskers. And when you look at the black shirts, okay, they were obviously like a top 15 defense in the country, 13th in scoring defense, top 8 when it came to rushing defense, I believe 8th in the country, top 25 when it came to sacks. Year 1 under Tony White. Tony's back. A lot of starters are back. Okay, what are your thoughts on how good they can be in the fall? Can they potentially be like a top 5 defense nationally?
I mean, I think so. I think as long as they continue to grow, I think they kind of, somewhat went back to, how we were back in the day with, stopping the run first, focus on those type of things. And then going back to having kind of that, aggressive smash mouth, attitude. You didn't see, a great deal of missed tackles last year, which was a huge plus. If we can create some more turnovers, get a little bit more pressure on the quarterback, I think that's going to bode well for us. And the fact that we didn't lose a lot of people, you got one more year of experience with those guys, growing and gaining chemistry. I think, sky's the limit for us. And honestly, I think that's going to be the strength of our team again this year, just because we have so many unknowns on offense. But if they continue to do the things that they're doing, then the offense takes care of the ball. I think we can be good next year.
All right, so what's the biggest thing? Because obviously, no matter how good you are, there's always something you got to improve on. So what's the biggest area you'd like to see the Black Shirts improve on for the season this fall?
For me, it would be pressure. pressure on the quarterback. I don't think we got as much as I would have liked to have seen last year. That's because obviously you get more pressure on the quarterback, then that means more turnovers for the DBs. I thought the DBs did well last year, but all of our success most of the time relies on you guys, right? So if we can get more pressure on the quarterback, I think that's going to bode well for us.
Is there, and we haven't even had the first day of fall camp yet. We're sitting here. I think it's still June. It's not even technically July yet. I could be wrong. Maybe it's July 1st. It's either that or June 30th. So we got some time. But my question is there any concern for you when it comes to the secondary with Bly Hill's injury, when he's going to be able to play being a little uncertain? Obviously, we're bringing in Zaire Wright, the talented USC transfer cornerback. But what are your thoughts on Nebraska's secondary heading into the fall?
It's next man up. It's next man up. I would say that maybe there's a little bit of concern, but to be honest with you, last year's defense was a surprise. And a lot of those guys, some of those were new. We put them right in the new system. They fit right in, gained good chemistry, and was able to perform well last year. So I'm expecting the same thing this year. Probably even a little bit more, because most of those guys have another year of experience. So, there's going to be some areas where you have those injuries, but that's why you get the backups ready, right? They got to be able to step up and do what they're supposed to do. So I'm looking forward to big things, and I'm really hoping that there's no fall off. Matter of fact, a huge improvement.
What do you think, as we sit here in the middle of the summer before July 4th, but what do you think is a realistic win-loss total? And we're not going to hold this to you. You can put like low end, like what the floor is, what the ceiling is. You can make a prediction, however you want to handle this question. But what do you think is like a realistic win-loss record, like Husker fans should kind of be hoping for, so to speak?
Oh my goodness, why are you going to ask me this?
I left it wide open. There's a wide range here for you. We won't hold you to it.
Every time I make these predictions, man, it doesn't turn out well, so I hate doing it. All I know is we have our last half of the season is a heck of a stretch. So I'm going to guess, if we play really, really well, possibly 9. If we don't, probably 5, maybe 6.
All right.
So that's what I'm giving it.
What so far from Matt Rule going into year 2? Okay, I feel like a lot of people, myself included, I spoke on Friday's show about how I wondered way back after the season had just ended, like, how am I going to get excited for Nebraska football next year, legitimately outside of the fact that I just love Nebraska football. And for me, it's kind of happened organically. It just, you watch what's going on, you see what's going on, you hear what's going on, and it's like, man, I just like what I see. Okay. And it's hard not to get excited. Not that they're doing everything right, not that they're going to bat 1,000. That's just not possible. But when you look at the season and you get ready for Nebraska football this fall, what excites you the most? And how much of the Kool-Aid is Tony Veland drinking at this point?
Man, I gave up Kool-Aid a long time ago. We're not going that route. I would say my excitement really comes from the stuff that he's been doing all season. The mat drills, the team building things that a lot of us don't get to see, the things that he's doing in the community, because I think he's finding a way for, people to really fall in love with being at Nebraska outside of just the football side of it. And I think some of those things are things that you need to do in order to fight, people just leaving and going, some other place for their transfer portal, that type of thing. So I think that type of thing is really going to build a really good chemistry and really a strong culture. The other side of it is that whole mat drill deal where you're building, strong mental fortitude. Like, we need that. Like, that's key for us. Getting back to being, smash mouth team, tough mental abilities. And I think that's going to take us, I think it's going to take us a long way. So those are the things that really excite me. And then obviously I think, like everybody else, I want to see what we do with the ball. Whether it's going to be Raiola or whoever the case may be, got to be able to take care of the ball. Because if we don't take care of the ball, we'll be in the same boat we were the last few years.
Man, that's a lot of truth in that statement right there. Now, for the fine folks at home, they hear the word mat drill. Maybe some folks understand what that means. Some folks may not. For those who don't, can you kind of explain what mat drills means?
Well, this is how I think of it. I think of it as kind of a poor man's Navy SEAL type training, where,
Okay.
You're doing whatever you can to make these kids better, but you're having these workouts that, they're so tough that in essence, you're going to weed out, those weak players out. And not only are you going to weed those guys, you're going to have the strong people there, but you're going to develop a character and a sense of urgency and a will to dominate and to pull through and to finish that I don't think we've necessarily had probably over the last maybe 10 years. And considering that we've been a team that has figured out a way, unfortunately, to lose, over the past 3, 4, 5 years, building up tough mental fortitude to allow you to kind of get past that. So I think he's doing some of the right things to set us up for success, and I'm anxious to see what turns out from that.
All right, man, I got a question for you. I typically kind of give my guests a heads up. I'm going to ask this beforehand because sometimes it takes a second to think of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you the question, and then I'm going to read 2 comments that have actually been sent in, and then I'll come back after you've had like a few seconds to process and maybe think of something that might come to your mind after I read the comments and ask you the question. But the question is this: do you have any memories or maybe something people don't know, something that isn't common knowledge for fans that you'd be comfortable sharing with the fine folks at home? And I'll give you a second to think about that while I read these comments. So speaking of Kool-Aid, Sal Savala is definitely drinking the Kool-Aid. Hey, I got no problem with that. He says Coach Matt Rule is very transparent. You can really feel the vibe and the electricity. His philosophy is on point. He is setting a Tom Osborne type culture. Go Big Red, tons of exclamation points. And another comment that Sal set in. All right, he's drinking the Kool-Aid. I assume the color is red. Okay, that defense is going to be amazing. And when you take away I hope we take these turnovers away. You take away our 30-plus turnovers, we're winning 10 games. That is per our friend of the show, Mr. Sal. All right, Tony, I hope those few seconds gave you something you could maybe share with the fine folks at home that isn't common knowledge, if you're comfortable with something that popped into your head there.
Oh man, I don't stories I really don't. I don't know. With us, going through our approaching our 30-year reunion, but to kind of take us back to the that 94 championship game. It's not a great night. I can just remember just after the game, my jaws being sore from smiling so much. For probably about the last, 5 hours of that day. It was just out of all the football that I played, even winning the Super Bowl and all that type of stuff, that was the best feeling that I probably ever had playing football. So that's all I can share.
So what's it like? Because these national championship reunions have got to be phenomenal. I'm sure there's guys that you keep in touch with over the years, but I'm sure there's guys that you're not able to keep in touch with, and you see them after all this time. You're celebrating a national championship that you guys won as teammates in the past. What are some of those reunions like for someone like yourself?
Oh man, you know exactly what I mean. Obviously, the national championship brings us all back together, but it's when it's all said and done, it's football. It's a brotherhood, right? So even if I haven't seen someone for the last 20 to 25 years, you come back and it's just like, we were hanging out yesterday. You start talking about, all the stuff that, you did back in the day and how good you thought you were. Obviously, you get older, you get a little bit better. So you start to reminisce about all that stuff. And it's just a good time, man. And it gives us a chance to really appreciate what we went through, appreciate the accomplishment, but also to reconnect and make sure we continue to moving forward, staying in touch.
All right, man, last question for you. What are you up to now? What's Tony Veland doing these days?
So I recently joined the University of Nebraska Foundation. I'm director of development for the College of Engineering there. So I've been there for the last couple of months, trying to come back home and raise money for the school. Obviously, I love my alma mater. The other thing is just, a little bit of speaking here and there and also helping with Warren Academy, trying to make sure we get some really good kids, good opportunities to go to the next level.
All right. So if people want to bring you in as a speaker, they want to help with the Warren Academy and or helping with the schools such as you're doing, I know that's a lot, but what are some of the places they can go and try to help out with what you're doing?
WarrenAcademy.org. Obviously, you can go there if you're looking to sign your kids up. tony.veland@nufoundation.org if they want to reach out to me, whether it's something with the university or speaking or any of those types of things.
All right, my man. I appreciate you taking the time.